Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to my dark room where there's no light, because I'm a vampire. This is how I like it. I filmed this video like 3 or 4 times. I didn't like the format that I put it in the past. And if I end up hating this format, then I'm gonna tie my PC around my waist and chuck it out my window. And today, um, I wanted to talk about something very dear to me, very near and dear to me, which is the fact that content creators are giving Generation Z a generational feeling of failure. What a title, what a concept. She's a runner, she's a track star. Now first, let me identify Gen Z. Gen Z is from like 1996 to like 2010, I believe, is the age range for Gen Z. But what I'm really focusing on is kind of those kids who are in high school and in college, just because I am going to be talking about careers and jobs and schooling within this video, and I feel like that applies more to those kids who were born like 96 to like, I don't know, when would you be in high school? Like 2000. Oh, I guess you would be in high school if you were in 2010. No, that's wrong. That's My sister was born in 2003 and she's graduating from high school. If she's graduating from high school in 2003, 4 years below her would be 2007. Okay, so like 1996 to like 2007 is really the age range that I'm like talking about. And also, let's disclaim, because I made that big statement at the beginning saying that content creators are giving Gen Z a generational feeling of failure. Let's disclaim and say that they're not doing it on purpose. No one come for me, no one attack me in the comments that I'm not gonna get. No one come for me on Twitter that I don't have. No one show up in my streams like they do already to attack me. They're not doing it on purpose, I promise. Unless you're Mr. Beast and you haven't given me $10,000 yet, that's a literal hate crime. So yeah, content creators are giving Generation Z this generational feeling of failure. Now, okay, why the fuck are we talking about that? Why did you even think about that? What's up in your head? What's in your brain on the daily basis? On the daily basis, up in my brain is me thinking about dropping out of college. And I have T minus 1 week until I graduate, and I am ready to drop out and end it all. And that's been a reoccurring theme between me and my friends who are also on the verge of graduating, that we're ready to drop out. And I don't understand, because college is not that bad. Like, some people it's pretty bad, but for us it's not that bad. So we're not the group of young adults who you would assume that would be talking about dropping out of college. But I think what's happening is that we're afraid for our future. And that's totally normal. I'm sure every generation has done that, being afraid for what comes next. But for Generation Z, I think it's very based on careers, jobs, and income. So when I graduate, I'm immediately going back to grad school because I can't do much with my degree unless I go back to grad school. So that's what I'm doing. But some of my friends aren't doing that. They're done with their educational careers after they graduate in a week. They're done going back to school. So they have to find jobs, right? Jobs to support them, jobs to keep them financially stable. And a lot of that is 9 to 5. 8 to 5, because America is capitalist. And honestly, I think that's what scares us the most, is having to work an 8 to 5 job. I already work an 8 to 5 job. I work about 40 hours a week on the weekly. And I looked at my mom the other day and I told her, I can't do this anymore. I can't work an 8 to 5 job for the rest of my life. Keep in mind, I am 21 years old. I'm too young to know that I'm just going to work an 8 to 5 for the rest of my life. I'm too young for that. I'm too young to be burnt out already. I'm ready to retire. But yeah, so I think that the generation, Gen Z, in that like time, those years that I blocked out, I think we're realizing very early on that we are going to work 8 to 5s for the rest of our lives. That's what it's going to be. That's how our lives are going to work. And we're going to live for the weekends, and we're going to live for vacation, and we're going to be depressed more than we already are. So I think that's a very hard thing for us to come to terms with, and it is making us feel like failures. It's making us feel like we definitely have not done something right, which is crazy because if you think about it, Generation X is who raised us. Generation X and millennials is who raised Gen Z. Like, early millennials, most of Gen X is who raised Gen Z. And Gen X was very work a 9 to 5. Be very financially stable with your 9 to 5. This is the traditional route. This is what we're going to do. That's who raised us, those people. So a 9 to 5, an 8 to 5 is really the only way that we know how to create any sort of living or any sort of stability for ourselves. That's all we know from Generation X and from our past, and that's what is traditional. Going to college, getting an 8 to 5 job, living out the rest of your life, working for the weekends and working for vacation time. That's just what we know, traditionally. But Generation Z was also the first generation to grow up where people started making money in content creation jobs. And this is where content creators tie back in. I think YouTube came out in like 2005. So by the time I was old enough to know what the fuck YouTube was, people were already making careers on YouTube. They were already making money content creating. So that job, I grew up with that job. Generation Z grew up with that job and grew up seeing that job contrasted to the traditional viewpoints and the traditional work ethic of Generation X that was taught to us. So there's a big dichotomy between those two points of views that's really, honestly, at least for me, it's very stressful to think about. Because on the one hand, you have your traditional side that I just talked about that Generation X has raised us to know, where you go to school, you go to college, you get a degree, you work your 8 to 5. That's very traditional. That's what we know. That's what we think is right. We checked all the boxes. We've done everything correctly. We followed the path like we should. And yet we're seeing people who follow this content creation path who don't check all those boxes, who don't go to college, who don't finish school, who don't work a 9 to 5, and yet they're so much happier. They are so much happier. They are so much wealthier. They are doing what they love and making great money doing it. While the people who followed the traditional path are in student debt, working hours that they hate, in a job that they don't like, having burnout from that job that they don't like, and honestly just being still exhausted by the time the weekend ends, just because of the stress of thinking about having to go back to work on Monday. So yeah, Generation Z feels like failures because all of us are following, or a lot of us are following, this traditional path that Generation X set up for us. And these content creators that we're watching are not following that path, and they're doing so much better than we are. So content creators, like I said before, like I gave in the disclaimer, they're not doing it on purpose. This is good on them. This is what they love to do. This is what they're doing. They're winning at life, honestly. But us over in the traditional path, we're so envious. Oh my god, I would love to just write for a living. Just sit me down on a computer. Let me write fiction, nonfiction. Let me write whatever the fuck you want me to write. And I'd be happy for the rest of my life. Some people are doing that. And they didn't follow the path that I followed. They didn't follow the traditional path. They did not check all of the boxes. So what am I doing then? Am I doing something wrong? I'm not happy. And I feel like that's a big mindset of Generation Z as we've grown up and as we've watched content creators become such a big part of society and such a big part of our lives. And I guess society is a pretty big and broad topic, and I guess what I mean by that is just society kind of equates in this scenario to like media in general. So content creators have become a big part of media. So instead of it being like stars, like, Jennifer Aniston, Tom Cruise, Leonardo DiCaprio, instead of it being people like that, it's for us, for our generation, like the actors and actresses were Gen X's like big popular celebrities, and we still have those. We do. I mean, look at the Stranger Things cast. Those are those types of celebrities. But Generation Z has seen this rise, and we've grown up with this rise of celebrities And I know some content creators don't like to be called that, but that's what I'm going to call them for the sake of this video. We've grown up seeing celebrities for us being made on platforms like YouTube, like Instagram, like Twitch, things of that nature. I'd say Facebook, but Facebook gaming, a joke. Unless you want to sponsor me, Facebook gaming, unless you want to sponsor me, you're a joke. But yeah, so we've grown up seeing these types of content creators become celebrities. And those people feel so much closer to us just because there is that form of interaction on social media platforms. Like, I do this a lot, and I think it's super funny. I think it's hilarious. Some people don't think it's funny. But people like Post Malone, or people like Leonardo DiCaprio, or people like, Jennifer Aniston. Those people, they don't run their Instagram accounts. I swear, they have a publicist who runs that Instagram account. They have a publicist who runs their Twitter. Like, to me, those traditional celebrities definitely don't check anything. So they don't have any sort of communication between their fans and themselves. Content creators, on the other hand, they grew up on this platform. They grew on this platform. They thrived on that platform of Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch, Facebook. They thrived on that. That's where they became big. So they don't, some of them, I guess some of them could have publicists or PR people, but most of them don't. Most of them run their own Twitter accounts. Most of them run their own Instagram accounts. You can talk directly to these people. If I DM fucking Tommy Innit could see my fucking post that I sent him if he wanted to. He probably doesn't, but if he wanted to, he could. And that's crazy, knowing that you have that kind of connection with these content creators. And so being so close to these content creators makes us feel like we could do that, right? It makes Gen Z feel like, I can do that. And a lot of us can. Look at me, what the fuck am I doing? I'm sitting in my dark-ass room making a fucking YouTube video. So you know what, if I can do it, you can do it. But it makes us feel so close, like, oh, I could have done that's easy. It's not easy. It's not easy, by the way. But we're like, that's easy, I can do that, I got that. But we don't. We continue to work these 8 to 5s. We continue to work the traditional route. We continue to be set in this place in life that we followed, that we thought was going to be so good because we followed all the right paths. We checked all the right boxes. And yet here we are, unhappy. Just not being able to reach what these content creators have, which is, happiness, wealth, money. So, I don't know what to say. It's becoming a problem. I think it is. And I wish someone would do a research study about this, about how content creators can negatively affect people's, self-image, how they can negatively, and, obviously, I say self-image, some people would say self-image meaning, body dysmorphia, body image or things like that, but when I say self-image, I mean, how they see themselves set up in life. So if I look at a content creator and I just feel like shit about where I am, that's an awful reflection on my self-image. I'm like, man, I'm in a 3-bedroom apartment that I share with 2 other women. I'm 21. I have tons of student debt. I work in 8 to 5 for $9 an hour, and I'm always broke. If I know that about myself, and then I look at another 21-year-old content creator who is constantly saying, oh yeah, I bought a house, and I'm a millionaire, and I, go on fancy vacations, and sure, I put in a lot of work, but I can take breaks whenever I want, and I make my own work schedule. I feel like shit about myself. How could you not? So I think that there should be some sort of study done on how content creators affect people's self-image in that way. I think that would be really very interesting. And there definitely needs to be a rise of research within the field of content creation. Just because I feel like it's so untapped. Social sciences, tapped. Criminal justice, fucking whole bunch of shit done there. Psychology, they started looking into the fucking paranormal in the 60s. So they've run out of stuff to do. So content creation, I feel like, could be a really good place to start research. But that's besides the point. Let's get back to the point of content creators making Gen Z feel like failures. So if you compare yourself constantly to that and you feel like you can be close to that, you feel like you could be like you have some sort of connection there with those people, and you're like, oh yeah, I can do that, but then you don't, it makes you feel like a failure. When I'm looking at another 21-year-old on the internet, and again he says, oh yeah, I bought a house, or she says, oh yeah, I go on all these fancy vacations like 3 times a year, don't talk to me anymore. I don't want to watch that video anymore. I click off that video, honestly, because it makes me feel like a failure. It makes me feel like what I'm doing with my life just isn't right, isn't enough. So I feel like that's a big issue going on right now, with content creation and Generation Z just in general. And obviously, everyone, I'm sure not everyone, but everyone could give it a shot at, doing content creation, right? Every single Generation Z person, young adult, child, could go, yeah, for like 1 year, I'm going to try to create content. I'm going to try to be a content creator. They could. Every single person could. But not every single person has the luxury to do that. And I know that sounds weird. It's a luxury to be a content creator, but it kind of is. I mean, think about it. For me, it's a luxury. I work 8 to 5. I'm able to support myself with that money that I earn. I'm able to purchase a setup, purchase a camera, to do this thing that I like to do in my free time. Some people don't have access to that. Some people don't have enough money for a setup, even if they do work a 40-hour-a-week job. Sometimes they have to pay their own car insurance, their own phone bill, their own medical insurance, their own rent, their utilities. I'm lucky enough to where all I have to pay is my rent, my utilities, and sometimes my copay at my neurologist. I am so lucky to be able to do that. And so I don't think that people realize that doing content creation is a luxury. It really is. Especially like on the financial ends of things. I mean, shit, Generation Z, we are so connected to our finances. If I pick up my phone, which I'm not going to show you the front of, if I pick up my phone, I could have access to my bank account in 5 minutes. 5 minutes, I have access to all my bank information. I know how much I have in the bank. Generation Z is so much more intact with their finances than Generation X was. Generation X, our parent generation, they, I don't know how my mom did it. I guess she physically went to the bank to check her balance. She called the bank and went, how much is in my checking account? This is my checking account number? I don't know, but they didn't have this when they were 21. So Generation Z is just so much more financially aware than all other generations, and I think that's what holds us back from becoming these content creators that we want to be, becoming something that we want to be, and why it stays it's just like a hobby for some people, or why it never becomes anything, is because we do not have the financial luxury, and we're so worried about our financial stability that we don't make that leap. And we can't sometimes. Sometimes people can't. It's not a luxury. I know I've said luxury 500 times in the past 7 sentences, but it's not a luxury for them to be able to do that. So really, I think that like finances hold us back a lot. Finances hold us back a lot from this content creation that we think is going to make us happy, but also hearing about content creator finances make us feel like we're failing. I hate hearing about YouTubers talking about how much they make, or how expensive their vacations were. Like, sure, vlog your vacation, but don't tell me that you spent $10,000 on the hotel. I don't want to know. I will never have $10,000 to drop on a hotel. That's not relatable anymore. It makes me feel like shit. So, in conclusion, I don't know, more research needs to be done on this topic. Just more research in general needs to be done in the field of content creation. I feel like that's a really untapped research market. And Generation Z definitely feels like failures due to content creators. I think there's definitely a correlation there between our personal feelings and how we feel about our life and how it's set up, and the content creators that we watch. There's definitely a correlation. I know it. I feel it in my bones. Again, disclaimer at the end of the video, content creators don't do this on purpose. No one's going around shoving their money in people's faces, not that I've seen, and I've seen a lot of shit on YouTube. Don't come at me thinking that I'm outing your favorite YouTuber for being a dick. I'm not. I'm just saying, self-esteem, feeling of success, a little bit hurt by watching content creators make more money than you. And that's all I have to say. Fuck yes, I'm so glad I like this fucking video. I like this so much more than whatever the fuck I did last time. So, thanks for watching.